Here's Brody Brazil.
So I'm probably like a lot of you out there, and honestly, whether you're from Las Vegas or Oakland, you want to have this scenario figured out. It's very much up in the air right now. What are the Oakland A's going to do? What will they be allowed to do? What's going to be possible for them? What will not be possible for them? How does this all play out? And more importantly, when will we get some answers on any of this? Because it might loom for weeks or months. I don't think it's going to go for a year. So what I wanted to do was put together the idea on timelines, like when we could get some answers for the Oakland A's. Will they relocate? Will that be a possibility or not? So let's take a look at some dates here in sequential order. And we'll actually begin on the Oakland side of this because this comes up first within a matter of a couple weeks as I record this video. On May 13th, the exclusive negotiating agreement with the Port of Oakland, it's going to expire. This is something that they put together 4 years ago, back in 2019. And this is the foundational agreement for acquiring Howard Terminal. Like, this is the agreement for the land purchase. A lot of other things have happened, right, that needed to. The EIR has been certified. The BCDC has removed port priority use from the 55 acres at Howard Terminal. It has all been squared away, but if you don't have the ability to, acquire the land with the Port of Oakland, then you don't really have a project. So that's why this is such a foundational piece. I said here at the bottom that it could be renewed. I don't think the Port of Oakland is ultimately against renewing this. They are for this project. They are a partner in this. They have been supportive the entire time. This is more on the A's whether they will renew it or not. Now, my point here being, even if it does fully expire, which I think is quite likely, I think that is probably the way this plays out. If I had to guess, instinct alone, I know nothing specific. I think it expires, but I also think that it could be renewed, reshaped under very similar language. It could go another year or two. Probably not another 4-year term. I think the port would rather, sign something next time with the absolute intention. But hey, when they signed this back in 2019, a lot of those other steps had not taken place. So there was trust by the port that the A's would go through this process. That's why they gave them 4 years. I do think that another couple years would be possible if, again, this is if the A's ever came back to the Port of Oakland and made another agreement. But just so you know, keep an eye on this. Like I said, don't be surprised if it expires, but would be interesting if it is somehow renewed and kept open as an option. Okay, then a couple weeks after that, on June 5th, the 82nd session of the Nevada legislature comes to an end. Now, this is very important to the Oakland A's right now. They've been putting all their efforts into this because right now the A's have more than a dozen lobbyists trying to seek public money. They're trying to get an incentive package from the state of Nevada and from Clark County to build their project on the corner of Dean Martin Drive and Tropicana Avenue. They need to secure more than $500 million in the next 6 weeks. And to be specific, even I'm having a difficult time figuring out exactly what they're asking for. I mean, look, obviously it's under negotiation. So you can't say exactly what they're asking for, but it does seem like in the ballpark of $500 million in transferable tax credits, plus and or in addition to that, the ability to collect sales tax from every purchase made on site of the 45 acres of what would be their new ballpark site. So I don't know if those things are in tandem, if one is connected to the other. I haven't had the opportunity to directly ask questions myself. That would be something I'm curious about. But look, the point is they have 6 more weeks until June 5th, approximately, until legislature ends. If it's not passed in those 6 weeks, guess what? Legislature in the state of Nevada, it only happens every other year for the first 6 months of the calendar year. There's very much a time crunch on this aspect of it. And without this, you got to come up with the funding some other way. And if your ballpark is $1.5 billion, and you're seeking $500 million, like that's a pretty large portion of this project, right? So it does seem like almost everything relies on this going through in Southern Nevada. Then in August, this has been a month, I wouldn't say a date, but a month it's been targeted by the A's of when they would like to apply for relocation with Major League Baseball. Because they need to do this here so that in the fall or early 2024, they could get approval by Major League Baseball to relocate, which would then let them break ground some point in 2024. And if they don't break ground in 2024, 2027 is in jeopardy. And if 2027 is in jeopardy, then you've got a team without a home potentially, or sitting at a temporary home for one more full season longer, or even a half season longer. And all of that completely suboptimal, from an operation standpoint. From the baseball side, the owners will have to give a 75% confirming vote for relocation. So you think about it. I don't know that this is instantly a unanimous yes. I don't know that it's also a flat out no at this point. I have no clue. We all have no clue. What is the perspective of owners across the league? Rob Manfred had said before that he would waive all relocation fees for the A's if they go to Las Vegas. Will that hold up? Is that in fact still on the table? Because that's at least a $500 million cost to the A's. Additionally, if he changes his mind on that. Somewhere between $500 million, maybe close to $1 billion. We're not exactly sure what an updated relocation fee looks like. But it would be a $2 billion expansion fee if a new team were to hop into Las Vegas. So we'll find out how exactly that plays out. A lot to be decided there still, but what are the perspectives of Major League Baseball owners? Will they let the A's go? Will they let them go without a relocation fee? All of that still to be determined. If they don't get that, then you see how that's going to interfere with the rest of the process. And all of this is being back-timed by a single date in January, the 15th of January, 2024, because by that date, per the last CBA that was agreed to with Major League Baseball and its players, the A's need a, quote, binding deal. That's the language in the CBA. They need a binding deal for a new ballpark in any city, right? Baseball has said, you just got to figure this out somewhere. Otherwise, the A's as a franchise will start to lose revenue sharing status in Major League Baseball. From what I understand, their last agreement put them on a 5-year revenue sharing plan. This would end it effectively January 15th, 2024. So they need to have their ducks in a row, and they don't need to, or they can't, I should say, come to the table with just speculation and ideas and, hey, we think we can do this. It literally has to be a binding deal, something that is not going to change for a new ballpark in any city. Otherwise, they're in trouble. And this is like the deadline that the A's have operated towards this entire time. And this is why you hear from their side of it that they're rushed, they're under pressure, they need to get something done. This is the ultimatum that they were handed with the new CBA. So, fair or not, I mean, they could just get off revenue sharing as well too, but it's costly, right? So there's that side of it too. It doesn't effectively end the A's franchise after this date. It just dramatically changes how they would have to operate as a business. So in summary, the A's are going to need to pull off more accomplishments in the next 6 months than they did in the last 6 years of a ballpark pursuit. And they made a ton of ground, like in that time. It took a long time, and there was also a pandemic and inflation and several other things playing against them. Like, quite honestly, I don't think for the years 2018, 19, and even into 2020, City of Oakland was really not willing to move forward on a lot of things. We have seen them get a little bit more involved in 2021, 22, and here in 23. But to paint the picture of what needs to happen for the A's to relocate in the next 6 months, I mean, don't get me wrong. It's very possible. All this stuff is laid out and could play out just like that. It could happen. But it's a lot. Also, stalls in public financing or MLB approval, like either one of those things puts them in jeopardy of the January deadline or of not ever happening. If Nevada says, we can't help, what does that mean from the Las Vegas side of it? Now, the A's have agreed to purchase those 45 acres for the ballpark site, but reportedly, they can get out of the purchase if the public funding does not come through. Again, maybe it does go through, but time is ticking to the tune of 6 weeks on that right now. And then, like I mentioned, if the A's don't get this passed with Nevada legislature in this session, this 82nd session, they're only held every, other year. Every odd year they're held for the first 6 months. This session started, I believe it was back in January, February. It's a 120-day session, I believe. So February, which is amazing, right? They have a quick session and that's it. Now, there's not really another opportunity this way to go back and get that public funding. So time has already passed a great deal in that legislative session. There's only 6 weeks left. We'll see exactly how that works and shakes out. So there you go. There's the timeline for answers in all of this. Again, I know people in Las Vegas are curious. People in Oakland are desperate for answers. A lot of it remains to be seen. A lot of this is going to be left up in the air for quite some time still, for an uncomfortable amount of time. Yeah, for people like you and me. But at least it can't really go on forever, right? Some of this stuff will need to get resolved sooner than later. Thanks for checking out the video. Thumbs up if you liked it. I'd appreciate that. You stayed here all the way to the end. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so that I can see you next time.